goodness you are in luck. We have an amazing interview today. But before we get started, like the holidays are right around the corner, and don't you just want to buy yourself your own Christmas gift? What about social media for schools? It is the book I released in 2023, helping out so many people build a system of consistent storytelling for their school or school district. You guys, you can buy your copy now on Amazon. There's a link in the show notes. But social media for schools. It's not just a one-time read, you guys. This is your go-to guide with case studies, little tips, a action taking, I don't know, workbook that goes along with it. Grab your copy today. Now, today you are going to hear from Ren Luebbering. She is with Springfield Public Schools in Missouri, and we're going to talk about how she got started in school PR. We're going to talk through how she manages social media for their district of 25,000. She's doing a fabulous job on LinkedIn. Twitter has really decreased when they looked at the analytics. And so they have upped their ante in LinkedIn, and that is doing very well. She'll kind of talk about her strategy there. And then we're going to dive deep into her experiences and her advice with vertical video. And she has so many great one-liners in regards to some really good advice. You're probably going to want to grab a notebook so that you can take a few notes. But love that, authentic storytelling really does well. She is not spending any more than 15 minutes editing these videos together. And she's got some great advice on how to capture what she needs in a short amount of time. Because believe it or not, every week, they have 56 campuses. She's visiting 7 to 10 schools every single week. And she makes a priority to do that. You're going to want to listen to the end, even to her last little tip on mental health. This is a really wise school PR person, and I think you're going to probably want to connect with her on a personal basis after this episode. But let's first get to this week's K-12 PR tip. Hey there, today's K-12 PR tip, a little bit about Instagram. Instagram posting to the grid. So you're either posting a single image or multiple images, now up to 20 that you can post. But I just wanted to let you know that the head of Instagram, Adam Asaria, recently came right out and said, you will get more reach on Instagram with the carousel post versus a single image. And then you can also add music to carousels, and they might be able to show in the Reels tab. I'm not sure what that is all about. But one of the main reasons that carousel posts reach more than just a single image is because if Instagram sees that your initial post doesn't perform that well, it will select another picture from your carousel, another image, to show as the first picture in the feed instead of the one you shared first the first time. So this is really interesting. I have seen this in my own feed where I'll see a picture and I don't really recognize it. You pop it into it and it's not the first picture of the carousel. Again, Instagram calls it a carousel, but all it means is there's more than one image. So my advice is start sharing multiple pictures. Don't limit yourself just to one. I do recommend always putting your best picture first, but if it doesn't do well, Instagram's going to try it out again, and I bet your stories are going to be seen by more people. Now, if you are looking to be seen by even more people, we're going to be talking a lot about Instagram Reels. Coming up next with Ren Luebbering. Let's get started. Welcome to the podcast, Ren Luebbering. How are you?
I'm so excited to be here. It's a beautiful day in the Ozarks, and I'm excited to connect with you today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm joining you from Wisconsin and very excited to introduce you to the audience. But first of all, if you're watching this on the YouTube, you will see Ren is not only an amazing storyteller, she has her own sticker. We quoted her. Posted is better than perfect and unpublished. What gave you the inspiration for that quote, Ren?
I think the starving artist mantra really is the inspiration behind that sticker. So, finished is better than unfinished and incomplete. I think that that's kind of the driving force behind creative work in general is that we always have the ability to keep going and keep doing, but you've got to stop. at some point. And so that is kind of the North Star for me with content creation as well.
Yeah,
So,
and I think it's really inspiring because we can beat ourselves into a corner and be like, "Oh my gosh, it should be better." You just have to
mhm.
get it out there. And you know what? Sometimes those blurry pictures or those short little blurbs, they do just fine. And sometimes we can overthink it, and that will, that's not good either. So, well, welcome, Ren. Why don't you share your background and then your role as coordinator of marketing and digital strategies at Springfield Public Schools?
So I got my path into school PR in a maybe traditional and non-traditional way. So I was a student in my mom's English 2 honors classroom at Hillcrest High School. My mom is a teacher, my grandma's a teacher. I have two different aunts who are in education as well. And there was a teacher that I had at Hillcrest High School who was my broadcast journalism teacher. His name was Coach Davis. And he was one of the first people in my life to tell me that I was a good writer and I needed to keep writing. And I had some great success in high school with broadcast news writing and writing in general for journalism. And so I decided, because of his mentorship, that maybe I wanted to be a Coach Davis and encourage other students like me to keep going and keep telling stories. And so I decided I was going to be a media teacher for high school students. And the summer before I went to the University of Missouri School of Journalism, I worked at the Boys and Girls Club here in town with teenagers. And about 2 hours into my first day, I realized I cannot work with teenagers. This is not my strength. So I went to journalism school at Mizzou and had an opportunity to pursue a degree in writing with also a bachelor's degree in international studies. And I thought I wanted to be an international reporter. Lived in Belgium for a summer, wrote about women's rights and human rights issues in the European Union, and then realized maybe I don't want to live in Europe. And then I decided that I love telling stories about the community that I lived in, that I wanted to celebrate where I was instead of thinking about where else I could be. And so I pursued lifestyle journalism. So human interest, story centered journalism. Got a job at a lifestyle publication called Inside Columbia Magazine when I graduated from college, where I was an editorial assistant. And throughout all of those different spaces, I was telling stories on social media, from LiveJournal to Zanga to MySpace to the early days of Twitter. I was always on social media. And part of your job when you're 22 and your first job out of college is you do what you're told. And so I was told, hey, Ren, why don't you do our magazine's social media too? And why don't you also clean the bathrooms? And why don't you also make $10 an hour? So, of course, that lasted about 18 months. And I realized that I maybe wasn't caught out for publishing. And my mom, who worked at the district, saw a job posting for social media specialist at Springfield Public Schools. And I realized that I could tell stories about people like my mom who are making a difference for students like me, like Coach Davis did for me. And so my first day was a snow day at Springfield Public Schools on December 9th, 2013. I took control of the district's Facebook page and all of the social channels. And then in the 11 years almost since, I've gone from social media and to digital communications and to marketing and digital strategies. And so I've been able to increase my impact by sharpening my tools and building out my toolbox over the past decade in school PR.
Oh, I love that path. And you have certainly found a great spot there. So you've been there 11 years?
It'll be 11 years in December. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And did you graduate from that school district then?
Yeah. So I'm a third generation Hillcrest Hornet, which Hillcrest is one of 5 high schools in Springfield Public Schools.
Okay.
And I'm also an SPS parent now. So I have a son who's a kindergartner in one of our buildings.
Okay. Awesome. All that perspective. Now tell me a little bit about Springfield Public Schools. So how many students and then how many schools?
Sure. So we have approximately 25,000 students that are served across 56 campuses. So that's 5 high schools and a K-12 alternative center, 9 middle schools, 4 K-8s, 35 elementary schools, and 4 early childhood education centers, which serve approximately 1,000 pre-K students in our community, as well as we have a variety of choice programs. They're essentially magnet schools where students can have a year-long immersive experience in a different learning environment. So lots of different types of learning and learning spaces. And some of the work that we've been doing that's most exciting recently is that we rebranded. So we moved away from our 90s clip art logo to an innovative, forward-thinking, inclusive, modern design, which has been so fun to implement and roll out in the last 3 months. So we're really excited about becoming and showing the way that we are the district of choice for Missouri.
Okay. That's incredible. And we probably could talk all about rebranding, but we're not because I'm really in awe of all the things you're doing social. But with the 56 campuses that you serve, the 25,000 students you represent, what does your communications office look like? That's what the listeners would appreciate that.
So I always have like my ASL slide for those of us who are millennials. So that was used to be age, sex, location, and chat rooms. So we have 7 communications team members. We have a chief communications officer, a director of communications. We have myself. I'm a coordinator too, and then we have a coordinator of community relations who is also a coordinator too. We have a coordinator 1 who is a coordinator of strategic communications. We have a video producer and we have an executive assistant to the chief communications officer. But Melody is so much more than an administrative assistant. She truly is a communication specialist and does a lot of comms work. And so we have a team of 7 and do a variety of community engagement, relations, PR, crisis, social, marketing, all of the things. We are essentially an agency model within Springfield Public Schools, serving 3,800 employees as well as those 25,000.
Wow. Okay. And tell me what you manage for social media or how social media looks in the school district.
Sure. So I am the wizard behind the curtain for our district's Facebook page, Instagram account, LinkedIn page, X account, and YouTube channel. I also am the support system behind our 60 webmasters. So we have more than 50 school websites. We have more than 20 department websites that are managed by team members across the system. I support them with best practices for web, as well as helping all of our social media managers at the building level. So schools can elect to have social media accounts for their entire building, and I provide training and best practices, and then also crisis support for social media managers who are employee volunteers within the system. So I'm the champion for our social media champions as well.
Okay. And for those schools that are using social media, what channels are they traditionally using at the school level?
So we have Facebook and Instagram are predominantly our most popular channels at this point. I still
Okay.
have some principals though that are active on X, but decreasing rapidly.
Okay. Yeah, and we recently I had somebody in my membership group share, "Hey, I just heard Ren speak. Twitter is dead." What was the other part? LinkedIn?
Twitter is dead. Long live LinkedIn.
Okay. Long live LinkedIn. So I didn't really have that in my notes, but tell me a little bit about how, like, are you transitioning totally away from Twitter or are you still there a little bit? What does that look like?
Describe it is that my time is like levers that I move. And so I have a finite amount of time, like everyone else in school PR. And so earlier this year, my chief communications officer, Stephen Hall, and I had a great conversation where we looked at the analytics for X, our district's Twitter account, in the last 18 to 24 months, essentially since an asteroid hit it in 2022, when he who shall not be named decided to buy it. We've seen almost an 80% decrease of engagement on Twitter. And so since we're essentially shouting into the void at this point with Twitter, I've gone from 5 to 7 tweets a day on X to approximately 3 to 5 a week. And the
Okay.
time that I'm saving by moving away from X, I'm investing into content on LinkedIn that is strategic and targeted more toward my business professional, community leader, influential person in our community who is maybe able to support not just the district vocally, but invest their time, talent, or team in supporting Springfield Public Schools. So I've moved my lever away from X and moved it to LinkedIn. We've seen almost 1,100 followers grow on the district's LinkedIn account in the last 12 months. We're seeing about an 18% engagement rate on LinkedIn for our district posts, and we're up to almost 6,000 followers on LinkedIn with zero ad spend.
Okay.
So we are continuing to put our time toward LinkedIn and getting a high rate of engagement back
How often are you trying to post on LinkedIn?
3 to 5 times a week.
Okay.
And not jobs. We're talking about school
Stories.
culture, leadership stories
Yeah.
that showcase how we are the district and employer of choice.
Okay. So we're going to make sure to link to all your social media platforms on the district level. So if you are looking at, hey, yeah, let's take a look at LinkedIn and maybe we're shying away from Twitter. Some schools have just decided to abandon it. So you certainly can jump over to Springfield's page. I just was taking a look and reading some in-depth stories. I think it's a spot where you can tell longer stories about your staff members and a lot of different things. So get inspired from Ren and her team there. I wanted to start with short form video.
Mhm.
I think in the schools that I'm connected with, uh, the fact of the growth and reach has been
Mhm.
like a hockey stick up, and it
Yeah.
is mainly because they are really embracing this short form video. So tell me about how the short form video, and I guess mainly, I didn't hear you say TikTok. So, mainly Reels with Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels. Obviously, YouTube has YouTube Shorts as well. But tell me about how the short form video has evolved in your district.
In the sandbox with short form video probably in 2021. It's whenever I saw that social gov accounts, so you're talking National Park Service, the Department of Education nationwide, when those social gov accounts start doing things interestingly, I'm really curious to see what that could look like. And so I was inspired by some great accounts that are in the taxpayer funded space that were doing short form video. And I also noticed that there was not the quality that we had invested in video production prior in short form video. And so I started just playing around with it. Personally, I started taking reels and creating reels of my son, who was a toddler at the time, super easy content, and just started playing around with it. And I saw, like you said, Andrea, a significant increase in reach. So when I would post a 90-second long horizontal video on Facebook, I would get maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5,000 views. When I would post a 10-second vertical video on Instagram, very, very quickly, 20, 30, 40K views, which was feeding that drive to want to make more content. One of my North Star principles with social media creation and content creation in general is that you follow the engagement. I was getting more content, more likes, more reach on vertical videos that I was spending a very small amount of time producing. I was shooting on my Samsung Galaxy S22, 5 to 10 second clips with a trending audio, but we're talking about maybe 10 or 15 minutes of editing time on my phone. And I was still getting between 10 to 20,000 views on these very short videos. And so that quickly became a part of my toolbox that when I'm out in the field covering a story, I'm not just taking photos. Now I'm taking quick vertical clips. And I am seeing more engagement, especially with my audience under the age of 45, that they want to see that content and they're commenting on it and they're sharing it at a much higher rate.
That's awesome. And, early on, those 20, 30,000, I remember those days. Those were really
Right?
nice. I,
Everything got thousands of views,
yeah.
like anything you would post.
So now tell me a little bit about what that is now, because I think we're not seeing those numbers, but we're still seeing, I mean, the stats say, in regards on Instagram, Reels get twice as much reach versus
Mhm.
an image or a carousel. Are you seeing similar?
Oh, very much so. Whenever I post just a carousel image or carousel couple of images, I'm getting maybe, I don't know, approximately 2 to 3,000 of a reach. If I do a reel of essentially the same story, I'm seeing 2 to 3x the rate of reach and engagement as well. What I also think is interesting is that shorter and shorter and shorter, right? Chasing the TikTok model is what the algorithm is wanting at this point. And so my most successful reels in the last 3 months have been less than 10 seconds long. And I think that also is industry standard that this like very hot take approach is what's feeding the beast, and shares are becoming more and more popular to build that algorithm impact for your content. But a reel that we did that was super successful, that was about 11 seconds long, was of Colin Langston. He was a senior who graduated last year from Glendale High School. When he was a freshman, he had life-changing surgery that enabled him to be able to walk for the first time. He was born with a significant physical impairment with his legs being unable to walk. And he made it a goal that he was going to walk at graduation. And his principal told me a little bit about Colin. Colin agreed to an interview with me. And actually, at graduation day, I was on the floor of Great Southern Bank Arena and captured a vertical video of him walking across the floor at graduation. And I was able to edit that reel in about 15 minutes, actually in the stadium. It was posted to IG and Facebook before commencement finished. And we had 150,000 views in the first 24 hours. It's about 12 million across platforms in total at this point. And that was like the moonshot moment, right? When we actually went viral. It was on Good Morning America, BuzzFeed, Upworthy. It was shared all over the place. And what I think was most successful about that was that it wasn't just a reel that showed students learning or happy kids or smiling teachers. And those pieces of content are important, but it showed that we made space for Colin, and the entire stadium, the entire arena was cheering him on. And that we're a district where students with different abilities are cheered on loudly by our community. And my maybe favorite part about that is that Colin commented on the video that he was so excited that we got to celebrate him. And I got to pin that comment. So for the 8 million views that we got on Instagram alone, if you pop into the comment section, it's Colin's voice that's at the top, because it's student voice and storytelling at the center. And I was just really proud of that. But it was also such a reminder for me as a content creator that my audience, they just want to live that moment and celebrate with him. And that's a 10-second moment. So the 2-minute video model, we're really moving away from it. We need clearer, shorter narratives that can be conveyed visually. That's what I'm choosing now.
Because you said you interviewed him. Did you video
Mhm.
that interview when you went to interview him?
Yeah, so I interviewed him in person. Every April, I reach out to all 5 of our high school principals and ask, can you tell me a couple of students' names that could be featured on SPS.org as we lead up to graduation? We do weekly spotlights, and why they should be celebrated. And so Josh Groves, who was actually my geometry teacher at Hillcrest High School, he sent me Colin's name and told me in 2 sentences that Colin was a good kid and that he was going to have this huge milestone moment. And then Colin agreed to being celebrated in this way. So again, it was his voice, it was authentic content that he wanted to be a part of, telling his own story of success, which I think was really important too.
Yeah.
But we did still the traditional thing, right? I did the 600-word article. I did the photo shoot. I did the pose picture with the principal. I mean, I still did all of the traditional media, but it was the vertical video that had the greatest impact by far.
Okay. That's what I think is important for listeners to hear, because in some cases, I mean, you can tell the same story in different ways. And sometimes, I mean, in essence, with this, posted is better than perfect on unpublished. I mean, we can think, oh, we got to have this elaborate, in-depth interview, and all of the B-roll and the words on the screens and who everybody is. And sounds like you probably did that too. But at the end, it was that short moment that you were able to capture, and you didn't stress out thinking, well, I need to have all of this stuff with it. One question that I have is, I'm assuming you didn't, and we'll link the video, and I've watched it before. I didn't watch it right before this, but did you have any trending audio on this, or was it just the audio from the?
It was original audio.
Okay. And did you know what you were going to put for the caption ahead of time, or did you just write the caption while you were posting the video?
So a good chunk of the caption on the video was pulled directly from the SPS.org article. It
Okay.
was the first sentence hook that I wrote in real time because
Okay.
I, of course, didn't know exactly what I was going to capture visually. Um, I think the caption is something like, for the first, Colin made a goal to walk at graduation today. He did it, right? Just very simple,
Yeah.
very clear. Because clarity always beats clever on social media, especially in school PR. We sometimes get really caught up with like wordplay and puns, and there is so much room for that, truly. But when we're trying to convey something complicated, clear beats clever every single time.
Yeah. I like that. That might be another sticker that we end up creating there, Ren. Clarity beats clever. Um, what other tips would you have for folks that are like, yeah, I know I'd like to do more vertical video. Not sure where to get started. What's your best editing tool? You don't need to master them all. And so, what would you say?
Man, I think that we can get so much in our own way sometimes. We feel like we have to be experts at everything. I call myself a Jill of all trades because I truly know how to be good relatively at everything, but I'm not super great at anything. And as a type A, ENTFJ or whatever I am, and an Enneagram 3, like I want to be perfect in so many scenarios with the work that I do. But authentic is so much more important than perfect on social media, especially. And so just try. Have a picture that maybe isn't perfectly posed. Utilize something that maybe there's a Sonic cup on the desk at the elementary school with the cute activity that they're doing on the carpet. Embrace the imperfection that is education. Our students aren't expected to be perfect. We should not expect ourselves to be perfect, truly. And so just start trying. A great way to do that with vertical specifically is start making reels of stuff in your life. And if you're embarrassed, that's fine. You can create a fake Instagram account and start making reels of your dog, reels of your garden, reels of your children if you feel comfortable with that. But just start playing around with the platform. I edit all of my reels on the Instagram app on my phone. I do not spend more than 15 minutes editing any reel, period. Because I don't have time to make this perfect, but the algorithm demands that I post 2 to 3 vertical videos a week. And so, with that in mind, they have to be easy to do. So, get comfortable with the tool, play around with editing a reel within the Instagram app, and also think through what is the best approach to filming on your phone. For me, it's four different angles: right, left, up, down. If that's all you do, if you pan right, you pan left, you pan up, you pan down, you have all the shots that you need. It doesn't need to be complicated. You don't need to buy a new camera. You don't need a gimbal. You don't need a fancy microphone. You just need to try. You just need to try and follow the engagement. You'll be surprised in what you can do.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're not going to get better if you don't try. So
Right?
I
You just
I
got to
love
try.
that. And I listened to on a webinar that you did for NSPRA, and I just think that panning from left to right and panning kind of up and down gives you enough movement to really make it look very professional. When you're inside those editing tools, you can speed things up, you can slow things down, you can add transitions, you can do some of that stuff. But like you said, it does not have to be perfect. Um,
And if you get crippled in the like, oh, how do I slow it down or how do I add a transition? Then don't add a transition and see what happens because published is better than posted is better than perfect and unpublished, right? It
yeah.
really is the sticker. It's the idea of you just got to keep going and keep trying.
Yeah. And I'm sure Ren will just be open and honest. Like I just did a reel the other day of just some senior banners. It was senior night for football. So I just did it to like the NFL theme or whatever. And I just did the pictures. I'm like, okay, there, I got that video out and I needed to do it quick. But then afterwards, I'm like, why didn't I add in a simple little transition? That would have made it look so much cooler. And I easily could have added that. And I started beating myself up. I'm sure that you have done the same where you've published it and you're like, geez, Louise, that would have taken me. But you just brush it off and do better next
Mhm.
time or whatever, right?
Right. Because on social media, quantity over quality every time. So you can tell one really great package with like the best photo shoot and B-roll and everyone's in solid colors with no logos. You can make it look so much like a catalog. It'll be gorgeous. It'll be beautiful. Your school board will love it. But all of the energy to do that, that's one story. I've got 56 campuses, got 1,800 teachers. They deserve to have their stories told. So for me to tell more stories, I have to reduce the quality and follow the engagement because at the end of the day, people want to cheer on educators and they want to see what's going on in the schools. And that does not require a whole lot of effort for me to create that content that is something that people can cheer for. And also my school leaders, they want to feel seen. And so if they send me even not the best picture, I'm still going to use it somewhere because they need that dopamine hit. They need that affirmation that they're being cheered on in their school community. So we can always do better, right? It can always be 20% better. But I choose instead of thinking about what can I do better, it's how can I do more?
Mhm.
That's how I reframe.
Okay. I love it. And you guys are going to be able to check out all of the Instagram reels, and I'm sure you're posting to Facebook as well.
And YouTube Shorts.
Okay, awesome. Do you just download the video then that you created in Instagram onto your camera roll and then you upload it into YouTube and maybe add a different music piece or what?
So I use a video scraper software from Instagram that I take the link, post it into the scraper, download the video without the watermark. Then I change the audio in Canva if I want to.
Okay, okay, got it.
Easy. We're talking again, these are 5 minute steps,
Right.
not complicated.
How do you ever take content that was curated, from someone else and end up creating that into a reel?
So it has to be something really interesting visually.
Okay.
I will occasionally post reels that someone else has created, like from video that's been shared on X, for example. But that's maybe 5% of my content,
Okay.
maybe 10%. Like the video that Colin's dad took of him at graduation when he walked, not great, not good. And on vertical, it doesn't have to be perfect, but if it's shot landscape, making it vertical, it just often doesn't work. Now,
Yeah.
I'll pull photos all the time, but video, it's really got to be almost there to turn it into a reel.
Yeah. So I'm assuming you do get some content, maybe not for reels, but for other stuff from your staff. So what are some ways that you encourage staff to submit content to you?
So I think that the affirmation that our leaders and our support staff and our teachers receive from social media helps drive that want of other departments and other schools to submit things to me. I don't do a lot of chasing. I'm not emailing principals of, hey, Carter Elementary, I haven't heard from you for a long time. Can you send me some pictures this week? I don't do a lot of that. What I do is honor the effort and the work that anyone has done in sending me anything. So if you send me something, unless it's problematic or has a liability connection to it, I'm going to post whatever you send me. It may not be on Facebook, it'll be somewhere. I'll put it there. And then I close the loop by sending a link back to that leader of look, here's your thing. And then they have something that they can share on their own platforms, which makes their world a little bit easier. And then often the cheerleading, the comments that are positive that they receive or their team member receives, that drives them to want to send more. And then I also, every time I'm in a building, which is I visit between 7 and 10 schools a week, actually going out and capturing content. Every time that I leave the building, my last connection with that school leader is, hey, just as a reminder, if there's ever anything exciting, cool, visual, hands-on learning, guest speaker, you have my email, please. Please reach out to me. I'd love to come back. And so I build those relationships and plant those seeds. And 2/3 of the time when I'm walking out of an office with a principal, they're like, oh, there's something else. There's something else. Let me get you that flyer. Let me get you that thing. And I honor that by showing back up, right? And so I build relationships with my leaders so that they don't feel like they have to take pictures if that's not their strength, or they feel like they can send me pictures if that is their strength. So if they're content creators or not, it's all about relationship and making sure that they know that the effort that they put in telling their school story is important and it makes a difference.
Yeah, that is powerful. And 7 to 10 schools per week, that's no easy task. So how do you make sure that that is stays a priority for you?
I'm a big fan of time blocking. So on Mondays and Fridays, I spend a good chunk of my day in office. So I'm doing graphic design projects. I'm writing articles. I'm doing website management. I'm developing landing pages. I'm supporting our webmasters. On Mondays and Fridays, those are my days. I am hitting the road Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I spend 30 minutes or less at each building.
Okay.
So, like for example, last week I covered a mariachi band that performed at 6 of our different schools. I attended the mariachi performance in the building that's a mile and a half from my office, and I was there for 15 minutes. And I got photos, vertical video, article, captions, quotes, all of the things. I got it all in less than 20 minutes because I know how to do this. I know what I need. And what I need is just little pieces that I can put together in all of my different places. And then also, this may be empowering or scary for some school PR pros, but often our educators, they want to feel like that they sound intelligent or that they sound articulate or that they're on point on message. Sometimes I'll just ask, do you mind if I maybe write something for you? They get an opportunity to review it before it goes on the website. So it cuts down on that interview time substantially if I can just summarize what we talked about out here in the hallway, and then we post it after you get a chance to look at it. So you don't maybe need a full interview with someone that you talk to all the time who's in charge of curriculum. If you had an email exchange, you can build a quote. And my leaders, after 10 years of doing this, feel comfortable with me having their voice.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So, can you share maybe one more story that's been one of your favorites? Obviously, is it Colin?
Colin, yes.
Yeah, so that was a favorite one. Is there another favorite story that you've been able to share from Springfield Public Schools?
Yeah. Oh my. I love the stories that we get to tell, especially of our support staff.
Yep.
Those roles are, I mean, everybody in public ed knows that your support staff, critical roles, your bus driver, custodian, food service staff, they are so important and those roles are so hard to fill. It's so hard to keep that team fully staffed or staffed at all. And we have developed over the last 2 years a cadence and we're telling stories about bus drivers. And we celebrated a bus driver in June named Mr. Harold. And that was very popular because Mr. Harold's been driving for 10 years. But then we got an email in the communications team from a mom whose daughter had ridden the bus with Mr. Vernon for 10 years. She and her three best friends had ridden the bus with Mr. Vernon for 10 years of their education career. They are sophomores. And Mr. Vernon was on his 23rd year of driving for Springfield Public Schools. It was his second career. So he retired from construction and decided that he wanted to work part-time and have health insurance and a flexible schedule. And he loves driving a bus for Springfield Public Schools. And I got to celebrate this guy who one of the sophomores told me, she said, he's like my third grandpa, which is my favorite quote of all time. And I got to celebrate Vernon and the impact that he's made in this half a dozen schools that he's been driving for years. And all these families, Mr. Vernon, we loved you. He was so great when he dropped off my Pershing student. Like this waterfall of celebration of Mr. Vernon. But we also got to highlight what he said, that he loves the schedule, that he gets summers off, that he has great benefits. And so he got to be an advocate for this type of person in our community to maybe drive a bus because it's not as scary as you think. So it wasn't just celebrating Mr. Vernon and our 130 bus drivers. It also was a recruitment piece of content. And that is just the sweetest spot, right? Whenever we have recruitment materials that support an operational goal, um, and also tells a story. I mean, that's my favorite type of work now is how do I tell stories that also help our district move the needle or have an impact in our strategic plan?
Yeah.
How can I create content that helps support meeting those goals?
Yeah. And just before this, I was reading one of your stories on LinkedIn was with a paraprofessional who sold his business in 2021 and just wanted to give back and started volunteering. And then he got I think a full-time or part-time paraprofessional job. But it's like then people start seeing themselves or seeing maybe somebody they know in that role and how rewarding it was. And so
Right.
I love the full stories that you're able to share.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, because now hiring, the sky is blue. We're all hiring.
right,
Bullet points and benefits, that I don't have an emotional connection. People and stories stop the scroll.
right.
So when you can humanize the recruitment need with a person who's the type of candidate that you would want for that job, man, that is really content marketing at its best.
Right. Yeah, I love that. So, as we wrap up, what is your best social media tip? And maybe we already gave it.
I think it's on a sticker. But my best social media tip for your audience is to keep going and take breaks. So we gotta work hard. Teachers across this country, we are facing a teacher shortage that is getting worse by the day. We have educators who are leaving systems and public ed in general, school boards, headlines, elections, all the things, right? Like education in America is truly under attack. And those in the classroom are on the front lines. And we have to keep going and keep cheering them on, even when the days are really hard and long. Because if we don't cheer them on, they don't feel cheered for. So we have to keep going. And we also have to take breaks because we get the waterfall too, right? The negative comments, the trolls, the attacks, the protests, we get that too on school social. We have to navigate those threads and those threats, actually.
Hmm.
And so making space for your own mental health is incredibly important. It's the only way I've been able to hang on for 10 years, going on 11, taking my vacation days, unplugging on the weekends, only checking comments for about 10 minutes on Saturdays and Sundays, putting the phone down, not engaging. Investing in your own mental health gives you the energy and the ability to keep going because our educators in the classroom, they deserve your energy and the best you can do.
Yeah. Well said, and probably something I needed to hear today too, Ren. So, thank you so much. I love what you're doing. We're going to share links to all of their channels. You guys be inspired, be encouraged. We've got authenticity, what we got clarity. We've got posteds better than perfect and unpublished, and we got the mental health aspect. We covered it all, Ren.
Really good. I feel proud of it.
Yes, you did amazing. What's the best way to stay connected to you if somebody wanted to reach out?
Absolutely. So you can find me on LinkedIn with
Yeah.
Ren Bishop Luebbering. That's Ren, Bishop like the chess piece, and then Luebbering. And then I love to share insights in the school communicators Facebook page. It's a Facebook group. And so if you're not in that community already, I would really encourage my school PR pros to get in there. There are hot tips and hot takes that are very helpful for school PR pros in that growing Facebook group. And so I would encourage your listeners to also hang out with me in there.
Awesome. And yep, there's no charge to join that. So Well, thank you so much, Ren. This has been great. I'm going to continue to watch your stuff and be inspired. So, thanks everybody for listening in, and we'll see you again next week with another fabulous guest. We'll see you later, Ren.